Bitcoin is taking a big nosedive. The world markets might be doing the same. Is this time to freak out? You're going to know by the end of this video, and you're going to know exactly at which levels you should have certain types of mentalities or defensive posturings in your portfolio. So let's dive into the charts, and you can apply this to your altcoin holdings as well, because your altcoins will be fully dependent upon what Bitcoin does. So this is going to help you in your particularly your altcoin trading journey or altcoin holding journey. So here we go. But returning viewers, go ahead and stop, drop, do what the sign says, hit like, leave me a super quick comment, even if it's just a thumbs up comment, or you suck LOL, or you suck, you actually suck, whatever the case. Help out the algo so I can continue making videos for you. And not returning, but new viewers, here's what my channel does. You're mostly watching project fundamentals and news-based crypto channels. That's what most of them out there are, and most of the trading channels out there are for Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum only, right? How to do short-term intraday trading, and that's not for most of the people, most of my audience. So my niche right here is to help folks who are into altcoins, typically want to hold altcoins to that effect. I help you understand what the heck you're doing when you're clicking around with your money after you watch those project fundamentals and news-based folks, because they, more often than not, more than 50% of the time, projects are covered when it's time to be selling, and most new folks don't know that. So that's what my channel does. It helps you understand, hey, before I click around with my money, maybe I should have an idea of what the hell's going on in the charts. So let's dive into it. Turn off that sign, please. Maybe. Yes, good. All right. So Bitcoin fell out of the channel. Is this the end of the world? I personally don't think so. Yes, the world markets are, are tumbling, and it could take Bitcoin down with it. But we're going to have to play this day by day. And so I will tell you how I'm interpreting all this. So right now, you have the daily 89 supporting, let's say, the S&P 500 right now. Okay. Now, how many other times have you got to bounce off this? So it's just for perspective. Look. Bouncy, 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 bouncy. Okay, it happens a lot. And did people freak out every time thinking when you zoom out, ooh, this is a top? This look, that's a pretty aggressive move. Yeah, probably every time people thought, ooh, that could be a top. But the likelihood statistically is that you get a bounce from here, because that's where it's been bouncing. So could Bitcoin bounce up with the market? Yeah. If the market starts tanking below here, I do have two different levels, which could each take Bitcoin down a little bit farther. I have one level at 4250 and a level at about 4069, something to that effect. These would be my two downside targets. However, will Bitcoin fall the entire time the stock market falls if those targets are hit? I kind of doubt it. I personally doubt it. I think the correlation between Bitcoin and the general, U.S. markets or world markets, the U.S. markets, I think it's going to be broken here shortly if this doesn't hold and these downside targets are hit. Perhaps the correlation will hold up during this downside target, but by this downside target somewhere in here, I think Bitcoin will break the correlation and start recovering before the stock market does. Now, do I have any, proof or a crystal ball showing you why? No, that's just my gut feeling. I'll show you a few things here in the charts. So outside of the world markets, not taking that into context, here is why I personally am not freaking out. It's very, very simple. Let's go to a cleaner chart. Come on, Tim, give me a clean chart, man. I want to see bare naked price. Okay, bare naked price. But let's put some underwear on it. Now we got one EMA. Okay. Price still looks sexy with just underwear. Here we go. Sorry for those types of jokes to new viewers. I typically don't joke around like that or curse very much. So, yellow line, price above or below. When price historically comes to touch it, you have two things that can happen. Either you tank below and get further downside, tank below, get further downside, or it's one heck of a buying opportunity. One heck of a buying opportunity. Now, yes, you need to be defensive across the against this, right? However, right now, I'm going to make the loose assumption that Bitcoin will bounce from this. However, I will personally be prepared for the downside movement. And I actually just made a video for my two upper tiers on exactly how to do that, especially if you're fully deployed into crypto. I just uploaded a video for my community on how to play that, which I won't be able to share here. But here's why I'm not freaking out. Just this yellow line, which is I'm on the weekly chart on Bitcoin. This is the 21 exponential moving average. All right. So two options as you approach: tank below, further continuation to the downside, or you bounce. There's typically not a whole lot of in between. Now, when you do bounce from it, if we can zoom in here, you do get wicks below. Okay. And one of the ideas that 2013 is shaping up to be very similar to this run with this massive dip. Check this out. Honestly, this is the way I think it's going to roll. Oh, the chart doesn't go back that far. Darn it. Let me go to this chart. Watch. This is one of the trickier ones, but I think this is what could happen here. We get one weekly closure below, then the next week closes right back above, 2 to 3, maybe 4 weeks of consolidation. Late October, you start getting a nice green candle, and then November, you take off. That's what I think. Now, was this November? No, this was actually September. So I think a structure like this could end up happening. This week, current Bitcoin price. So right now, this is 2013. You're staring at 2013. And remember, I said there are only two options without much in between, right? Either you break below, get continuation to the downside, or you hold as support, go up. But there is a nice, great example of one in between. And I think that this could shape up to be playing out here. I just don't see continuation to the downside happening, folks, personally. However, within my Patreon and Discord community, not the YouTube community, I have given very specific steps on how to protect oneself against further downside movement to capitalize on that. So personally, if you're not within that community, you need to be prepared for downside movement as well. But on my basis, I'm going to be more focused on the idea that it will hold support until it doesn't. So this week, if it closes below, I'm going to look for next week, starting on Monday. I'm going to look for this week to close above the weekly 21. If it does not, then my tune will turn pretty bearish. I will then start looking for downside, right? But until then, I will assume either support or a fake out to the downside and then support. And this is why I'm not freaking out. I think this might be the play, literally. Okay, so what that might look like, if I could take a quick fractal. No! There it goes. One trick with fractals when they get tricky like that, because you took it from price way too low, what you can do is just drag it down to lower prices. Watch. I learned this during a VIP live chat. Watch. I taught myself on accident. You can go like that, then make it so it's not so wishy-washy. It doesn't just like go all over the place, and then you move it back up. Hey, Tim, you're not having much luck with your trading view clicks today. I know. Anyway, yeah, so here you go. I think this could shape up. So this week closes below, next week closes above, maybe not so aggressively above. Something to that effect. And then by November, see, look, this is the first the second week of November, you could be breaking out of this range. So I'm going to think that even though I'm going to be prepared for downside, I'm going to loosely assume that this is going to happen until the charts say, nope, it's not happening, right? Okay, now, there's another kind of in between here, just for perspective. In September 2013, so right now you're staring at 2013 price. Take a look at this. Look how far below the weekly 21 a wick happened, and it recovered beautifully. Look. 20% below, okay? And the market was just fine. Now watch. So where the weekly 21 still had a positive slope, measure it from there, only 7% below. So really, it's not really time to freak out. Now, is there severe risk of serious downside movement to the mid-30s and potentially even break, these lows? Absolutely. You want to see why? Structurally, look Look at the week. It's officially in a downtrend. So I had a Twitter post. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you might want to do that. It's at 𝐾𝐫 𝑣𝑒𝑟𝑑𝑒𝑠 2, the number 2. I should have a link in the description section. But I mentioned on there that on the daily and the weekly, there literally was no trend. There was not an uptrend. There was not a downtrend. But right now, we do have actually a downtrend on the weekly and the daily, which is not good. Okay, so what do I mean by this? Well, you have a high, a low, a lower high, a lower low, another lower high, which would set up for, logically, in this structure, a very strong risk of a lower low. It could easily happen. Now, could this be the time where the trend starts changing? Absolutely. Where you get both a lower high and a higher low, and then you oscillate for a while and before you make a higher high and then change the trend. That could be it. So that would be, targets in the mid 30s or maybe 40K or something where we are now. This could be where the tides are changing, where you don't continue the trend, but you are still not in an uptrend until you break this local high. That could be what's shaping up. However, given on this lower high, lower low structure, the weekly trend is pretty strong. So there is some severe risk to the downside. However, I'm under the understanding that there was strong manipulation to the upside, which caused a bigger correction than what's normal. So I personally am going to throw some salt, put some seasoning on that structural analysis that Bitcoin's weekly trend typically gets things right. And I think it has a 100% hit rate. When in a downtrend, you stay in a downtrend for quite a while. I think it does have a perfect hit rate. Watch. High, low, lower low, downtrend for how long? Over a year. High, lower low. How long were you in a downtrend? Almost the same amount of time, 469 days or so. So this does have a perfect hit rate. However, I think due to pumps to the upside, fabricated pumps to get people bullish before big dumps, right? The Wyckoff folks baiting people into longs. I think this should have had the bigger correction out of the 21 and then slowly more moved up. But since that never happened, the 21 is never tested. I think this overcorrected because it was overpumped, and I'm going to make the loose assumption that this has the ingredients to be the first time in Bitcoin history where the weekly trend does not continue down for over a year. Okay, and that's the reason why, because I think this pump to the upside was partly fabricated and was to bait longs before a big dump, right? So folks with money can have more money and take money from the minnows, which made, then had Bitcoin overcorrect because it got overpumped to the upside. It got way too hot, way too fast, and I was screaming about that on I was the only YouTuber who was regularly talking about a dump is going to happen. I was targeting 40K. Right. And I got mocked and everything. So even though I was that person, right, I think that this could be the first time that the weekly trend doesn't hold up for over a year. OK, but here we go. But we're going to know pretty soon by the end of next week. If next week cannot close above this yellow line, that's time to be fearful. That would set up the situation where it's probably, I would say, greater than 50% chance that we have minimum 3 months of downward and sideways before, minimum 3 months before you break this local high at 50K-ish, 51K-ish. Minimum 3 months. Could be a year. It really could, folks. So if you could, put your, instead of doing a rain dance, let's do a Bitcoin dance next week, because if you want your altcoins to go up, the likelihood falls very, very drastically if Bitcoin next week can't close above that line. The weekly 21, the yellow line right here, okay? But I'm not freaking out until that doesn't happen. So I'm staying, calm and cool. It's all things, related. I really think that Bitcoin might be setting itself up for a mixture of consolidation around the 21, similar in 2019, that consolidation and this consolidation, as opposed to the coronavirus dump. I think a lot of the bad news that's being perfectly timed, right? So some of the news out there about the markets, like Evergrande or Evergreen, or I'm not sure what the news is. Sorry, I'm not a news person. However, one of my VIPs just said, "Oh, that's not even news. That they're just releasing that. This has been known for a year that they wouldn't be able to pay their, debt payments and all that kind of stuff, or their interest payments on their debt. It's already been known, but they're releasing it now to scare people. So therefore, you might logically think that there's a decent chance that this bounce or this market downturn is going to get a strong bounce, because the news was perfectly timed to get people fearful right before it moved back up and continuation to the upside in the American markets, at least. So, because, once people are fearful, to release more fearful news would create a bigger downturn. And then so folks with more money who have a revolving door or have an in with news organizations for timing of the news, so they can scoop up the stuff that you buy, right? So that's what I got going on. Let's take a look at the health. So right now, Cardano and Ethereum, they're not going to be as important to look at because Bitcoin's leading the market, right? However, Ethereum, if you want some hopium, look. What it wicked down to? The weekly 21. Is it above the weekly 21? Yes, it is. Cardano, above the weekly 21? Yes, it is. So a lot of the rest of the market is still looking okay, which gives me the idea that a lot of this might be, smart bots and algos of hedge funds, driving price down to get people fearful before a big move up. Here's another thing that gives me some hopium is long liquidations here, where my cursor is. Right-hand side, short liquidations. Look at the common theme. Liquidations are drying up. When did most liquidations happen? When did you get those big wicks? When price was moving up. So in order for exchanges to be reeling in big bucks from liquidations, the market needs to be moving up. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of sell pressure from exchanges themselves to mess around with the market and put pressure down in order to, be more profitable. Because they make more money when the markets go up, because people gamble bigger and they get liquidated. Even longs get more liquidations when price is going up. Doesn't that sound counterintuitive? But it's not, because when the market gets exuberant, so do people's decision making, and they over leverage themselves. And even though they picked the right position, they just didn't pick it on the right day or the right 2 days or the right week, and they get liquidated out, right? With like maybe a 5 to 10% move down on Bitcoin, even though the general trend is raging up, right? People get, and so people give their money to exchanges more when the market's going up. So these charts right here, see how the blue lines are just drying up? I think that's an indication that the market's getting ready to move up, or it's one indication that it could move up. It's one, piece of the puzzle, that sell pressure from exchanges, with the assumption that you also know that exchanges mess around with Bitcoin spot price and all that kind of stuff too. If you don't believe that, then I guess you won't enjoy this part of the analysis. But I don't think that exchanges are going to create sell pressure to the downside, because right now their revenue from liquidating folks is drying up, and they need people to get exuberant with an exuberant market. So I don't know. There are a few cues that are saying that that sell pressure is not going to be sustained, and because the exchanges needed to go up. So that's what I got. So that's your hopium for today. If you liked what you saw and you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you do subscribe because you're new, let me know if you want to be a cryptillion or a crypto crackhead. Those are the two gender neutral pronouns that we use within the community. And feel free to follow the link to my Patreon community, not to sign up, but to check out, is this worth my time? I give you links to Google Docs that you can open to say, hey, what type of exclusive content does this blonde dude with a dash hat on, who matches his shirt today, makes my eyes look blue too, even though they're kind of hazily blue, green, gray. But anyway, so you can determine, hey, is this community worth my time? I give you live examples for each tier, so go check that out. And y'all just got typified.